Today is the third day of Sivan, and we are concluding in the Shir of the Chitas for today. We are concluding the last piece of Perek Nun Gimel, chapter 53, which is the last piece of the first part of Tanya of Sefer Shel Beinani. In the beginning of this Perek, the Alter Rebbe began to explain the statement in the Zohar in the name of the Yenuka, of the precocious child, who said that there is the Shechina rests on top of the head, over the head, and it needs oil in order to connect it to the body. That the Shechina should remain connected to the body, it needs oil. And that oil is Uvdan Tovim, good deeds. So the question is that usually we associate oil with Chachma. Chachma is compared to oil. Oil is a metaphor for Chachma. And here all of a sudden we're told that the oil is Uvdan Tovim, good deeds. So the Rebbe explains as follows. We're at the bottom of page 148. The number at the bottom of the page is 280. The last line on the page. V'zeh shomer haYenuka, and this is what the Yenuka said. That the flame that burns over the head, he Shechinta, which is the Shechina, the presence of the Shechina, is itzrich lemashcha, needs oil. Pirish hislabish b'chachma hanikra shemen mishchas kedesh. It means oil. Oil means chachma, which is called the holy oil, the sacred oil. As he writes in the Zohar. And what is this chachma, which is oil, that serves to keep the Shechina connected to the body? They are the uvdin tovin, the good deeds, meaning the 613 mitzvahs, and the mitzvahs themselves come from God's chachma and contain God's chachma in order that the Shechina should remain connected to the wick. The wick in this case is the animal soul in the body, hanikras psila al derech mashal, that is called a psila by way of analogy. It's called a wick. Ki kamei shebener hagashmi, because just as in the physical candle, ha'er meir al yedei kiloyin v'sreifas hapsila, the flame burns, the fire, through the consumption of and the burning of the psila, of the wick, hanehapeches la'eish, which is transformed into fire. It is consumed by the fire and absorbed into the fire. Kach eir hashchina sheir al nefesh ha'likis. In the same way, the Shechina can rest on the godly soul, can be present in the godly soul of the Jew, al yedei kiloy nefesh habahamis, through the consuming or the consumption of the animal soul. And its transformation. When the animal soul is transformed from darkness to light, and from bitterness to sweetness in the tzaddikim. So in the tzaddik, the consumption of the animal soul is total, is complete. It is completely consumed by godliness, so that the Shechina is completely revealed in the tzaddik. And that's because the animal soul in the tzaddik is transformed not only in its behavior, but also in its inner instincts and desires. But if not by a tzaddik, in the non-tzaddik, at least through the consumption of the garments of the animal soul, that too serves as oil for the Shechina. Shehein machshava dibur u'maisa, which means the thought, speech, and deed of the animal soul. At least they become consumed and elevated into godliness, v'his hapchusan, and at least they are transformed mecheshech haklipes, from the darkness of klipa, l'eir Hashem ein sev baruch hu, and it becomes part of God's light. Hamelubash u'meyuchad b'machshava dibur u'maisa tayag mitzvos ha'toida b'beinani. The light of God and the godliness that is clothed and united with the thought, speech, and deed of the 613 mitzvahs of Torah, that's where the garments of the Beinani's animal soul become consumed and transformed into light from its darkness. because it is through the transforming of the animal soul that comes from klipas nega, which is darkness, and it becomes light. Through this this becomes the elevation of mayim nukvim, which means that we become receptive. Our capacity to receive is deepened and elevated. And when we create a vessel, we bring down the light like a vacuum. Wherever we create an openness and a wanting for godliness, so we become receptive to godliness, this automatically draws. It brings the light of the Shekhinah, which means the revelation of godliness, which is in Torah, al nafshehu alikis, it is revealed into the godly soul, shebemeich shebereshe, whose resting place, the godly soul's resting place, is in the mind, in the head, ubazeh yuvan heitev mashakasu, and with this we'll understand well what it says, ki avay elekecha eish eichlahu, k'mashakasu makimachet. What does it mean that God is a consuming fire? A consuming fire means that there is a godly fire. But that godly fire, which is the Shekhinah, needs oil and needs to be retained or contained, connected to the body. And through what is this? Through eichla, through the consumption, through the consuming of the animal soul, which creates an openness and a receptiveness to godliness. That's what brings the Shekhinah, draws the Shekhinah to the body. And in this receptiveness, in this consumption, there are two levels, the level of the tzaddik and the level of the beinoni. The level of the tzaddik, the animal soul is consumed entirely with its emotions and instincts and so on. All of it is godly. Whereas in the beinoni, it is only the garment of the animal soul. But that is the main, as he's been saying in the last 53 chapters of Tanya, that the important thing is the dira b'tachtenim, bringing the Shekhinah down into the lower world, and that is in the thought, speech, and deed of the animal soul of a beinoni. Nishlam chelik rishim be'ez Hashem yisbarich v'yisala. That is the conclusion of the first part of Tanya, which is called Sefer Shel Beinonim. With the help of God, may He be blessed and exalted. In today's Hayom Yom, the third day of Sivan, the 47th day of the Eimer, he says that taking a haircut, concerning the customs, he says that taking a haircut during the 3 days before Shavuos, or Erev Shavuos, was displeasing to my father, to the Rebbe Rashab. And then in the body of the text he says that when you consider and think about the statement in Tosfos on the verse Torah, etc., in the Gemara Shabbos, we will understand that Yom Tov of Shavuos is a very special time above in heaven, because on that day God confounds the Satan, the accuser of Jews, in the same way that God confounds the Satan during the sounding of the Shofar on Rosh Hashanah, and on the day of Yom Kippur, on the fast day of Yom Kippur.